Hello, I'm Mario Toneguzzi, managing editor of Canada's Entrepreneur. Joining me today is Keenan Beavis, who is a Métis entrepreneur from Vancouver. He's the founder of Longhouse Branding and Marketing. Thanks for joining us today, Keenan.
Privileged to be here.
All right, I'm going to also add a few other things about you. You're an alumni at EY's Entrepreneurs Access Network, and most importantly, you're the 2025 Young Indigenous Entrepreneur Award winner from the Canadian Council for Indigenous Business. Wow, been quite a, a year for you, I guess, right?
We're having a really fun year. We're working very hard, and that hard work is paying off with some of these uh, call them accolades, if you will. It
Yeah.
makes us really happy.
Let's talk first of all a little bit about your background before we get into your company. But I understand by your bio that you started entrepreneurial journey by selling t-shirts on YouTube.
Well, t-shirts and YouTube, really. So,
Yeah.
and I've I've learned that you never know how the things you learn when you're younger are going to affect you when you're older. I had a lot of time on my hands, and there was all these like YouTubers that I was looking up to. There was one guy named like James at War, another one like Smosh was a really popular one, and I wanted to be a YouTuber. I had access to a camera and I had very little video skills. So my videos were terrible, like super embarrassing. It was me doing like Katy Perry parody songs
Oh yeah.
and like dancing around on a trampoline with like a penguin stuffed animal. I was 12. And but I still wanted all the views. So how did I find a way to do that? I learned something called search engine optimization. Search engine optimization is about getting the search algorithms to rank your videos, or in the later case, my t-shirt store, or in the today case, um, the businesses of like the over 800 business leaders that we've worked with, high on search engines. That could be YouTube, that can be Google, that could be even AI. AI is kind of a search engine. So I ended up figuring out how to do that with all that time that was on my hands. Our videos got a lot of views, despite being really embarrassing, and became the 27th most viewed YouTuber in Canada. A
Wow.
bunch of studios came in. It was harder to get views. So I went to one of those Comic Cons, one of those like fan expos in Vancouver.
Yeah.
And I'm fairly socially anxious. So I didn't want to wear the big elaborate costumes that some of the people at these Comic Cons and fan expos wear. But I thought, like, it'd be cool if there was like a minimalistic art style t-shirt or a hoodie that only people within that fandom would recognize as being part of that pop culture fandom. And sold a lot of t-shirts, particularly Pokemon t-shirts, little minimalistic art styles of like, Pikachu and Charmander and Squirtle. And, we had like almost the whole original 100 and like 51 Pokemon. And the way that I got uh, those shirts to sell was search engine optimization. You typed in any of those original Pokemon names plus the word t-shirt, and we would be number one, two, or three in the search result, and we had the best looking shirts. So they would sell. And then when you're working with a product with as low of margins as t-shirts, it's like the way I was doing it was like manufacturing printing on demand. And we had like $6 a shirt. So I had to find ways to sell shirts without going over that margin.
Hmm.
So we would do Facebook ads and Google ads with a very close eye for efficiency. And that has carried through. Those things that I learned when I was 12 with YouTube, when I was 16 with t-shirts, has really paved the way for us to now be Canada's number one fastest growing marketing agency.
So tell me, how you got to, from doing the YouTube stuff and how you got to Longhouse and why Longhouse was created, when, and what you do.
So our mission is to help busy leaders make their impact. We notice that all these busy business and community leaders, they're trapped by their to-do list and they can feel stuck wearing so many different hats and they're incredibly competent. They have like just incredible skills in their business, but they're trapped because there's just simply too much to do. So what we do is we help them win time back by dedicating time to their branding and marketing.
Mm,
We're not the cheapest agency, but we do it very well and we get the results that we're known for consistently. And really, at the end of the day, people are willing to pay to get this done well because they know that a great website or a great brand or a efficient ad campaign or search engine optimization strategy, they know it's going to grow their business more than what they're paying us. And at the end of the day, that's what we do.
mm.
Um,
And tell me, throughout, through your entrepreneurship, your association with EY and the Entrepreneur Access Network, what does that mean for you?
I'm very grateful to EY, not just for sponsoring the CCIB National Young Indigenous Entrepreneur of the Year Award, but also for the Entrepreneur Access Network, EAN. As part of that, they pair you with a EY mentor. So mine was Greg Noble, and similar to what I was saying about like what we serve in the business world, which is helping these busy leaders, being an entrepreneur can be very lonely and no one can do everything by themselves. So when you have, say, an EY mentor, for myself, Greg, he's seen every business question, every one of these business battles before. And when I have questions about, hey, what does what's it like to engage an intellectual property lawyer? What's it like to, what happens in this accounting situation or this legal environment or this legislative environment? He's seen all those battles before. And what that does is the quantifiable benefits really not just for me the connection, but it's also the peace of mind knowing that I have this connector there that has answered these questions before and has helped other people transform their businesses through it.
Mm.
That's the value to an entrepreneur like me.
Do you think every entrepreneur needs like a mentor of sorts, whether it's a mentor or whether it's an act like a business coach? There's a lot of those around these days. Do you think every entrepreneur needs one?
I'll take that even one step further, Mario. I think every entrepreneur needs a mentor, but also a mentee. The amount of value that you get from both of those
Yeah.
is unquantifiable.
What when on your journey, what was the biggest challenge for you as an entrepreneur?
Learning to delegate and learning that that's okay. The transformation that was hardest in our business was a couple years ago. We went from a team of 5 to a team of 12 in a matter of 6 months.
Mm.
And the business model only worked if we did that jump that drastically. And the the big difference is the functions in the business that the leader, the CEO, the founder plays. At that point in the business, when there was 5 people on the team, everyone essentially had to be a generalist. So I was doing business development, sales, I was doing project management, and I was doing a little bit of specialist work.
Mm.
You're spread so thin, you're wearing too many hats.
Yeah. Yeah.
What we needed to do was get me focused on one core function in the business. And my core competency would have been business development. But at the end of the day, going through another growth phase, what we now need to do is get me out of business development so I can work on long-term strategy.
Yeah.
And um, we lost 40% of our clients during that transition.
Mm.
And that was a very scary time. And that's important in those situations to have someone that you can turn to, whether that's a mentor, but then also to have a mentee that watches you go through that transformation.
Yeah.
Because then when they're at that stage of their business or in their professional development, they can then come to you knowing that you've seen that battle before.
Hmm.
We lost 40% of our monthly clients who we call partners because they were used to working with me. I was their project manager. I had a way of speaking with them. And, it would have felt like a downgrade of service. They were actually getting an upgrade of service because my time was spread so thin that there was no possible way I was doing
Hmm.
10 out of 10 service for them.
Yeah.
So now I was bringing in a full salaried person to be their project manager and a full salaried person to be their dedicated specialist for the services that we were offering, whether it was web, ads, SEO, etc. So it would have felt possibly like a downgrade, at least at the face, but they were getting an upgrade. And we got our business back within 3 months because I was focused on what needed me most in the business.
Hmm. Interesting. Yeah. Now I understand, you're involved in giving back to the community, and I wanted you to talk specifically, sorry, about the Longhouse Business Award and what that is.
So we found that, Indigenous youth are very underrepresented in tech and marketing, and we've wanted to break down that barrier a little bit, not just financial. It is five $2,000 cash prizes that can be used for tuition or as a little bit of a boost to a young entrepreneur's entrepreneurial endeavors. Uh, but beyond that, it also includes a full day of workshops in some of the skills that we think are relevant to the digital economy of today. So, storytelling and marketing, web design in 2025, search engine optimization, advertising. And we feel that when we can help people both with the financial portion of that barrier, but then also the skill gap, that's going to make the biggest impact.
Yeah. Now, where did you grow up, by the way?
I grew up mostly in Langley, which is about 45 minutes outside of Vancouver.
Okay. And was the indigenous culture always part of your life? And
It was not a part of my life. I was not raised in our culture. My mom was even raised in her culture. And that really is a testament to the destruction of cultural assimilation.
yeah.
My grandfather was um, he got pretty abused in the school system, and at the age of like 13, 14, we're not quite sure. He essentially ran away to work at a logging camp
No.
for quite a while, and he was taught that being indigenous was bad, and that affected the way that he raised his five daughters. And as a product of that, my mom wasn't then able to raise me with much of a cultural understanding. And fortunately, like, about a decade ago, I was given a really great opportunity. I went to my local Métis Society with Chea and was looking for ways to get involved and learn more about that side of myself. And they were offering Cree classes.
Hmm.
And there was the president there at the time, Glenn O's. He was my conversation buddy there. He made me feel comfortable. Even after the Cree class program ended, which was like 8 to 10 weeks or something like that, we started going for coffees regularly. He was always, uh, teaching me new things and introducing me to more people. And I think it's important for people to have a mentor on the business side, but also mentors in other aspects of your life.
Yeah. Yeah. How have you integrated, some of the indigenous cultural aspects and values into what you do as a business person?
Good question. When I was accepting the award in Halifax, this was actually a part of my speech. There's a word that I learned in those Cree classes. It's Wakutawin, and that is the kinship and the interconnectedness of everything. Um, and beyond that, the personal responsibility that comes from that interconnectedness, Wakutawin. And My role is to empower business leaders to make their biggest impact and get them focused on what actually needs them the most. And when business leaders are focused on making their biggest impact, that's when society gets better. That's when their kids get to go to college. That's when they go on family vacations. That's when they employ people in the Canadian economy. We want the Canadian economy to keep growing. And with that interconnectedness, that is a business leader's duty.
So, if you had a young person come up to you and say, "Hey, Keenan, I want to be an entrepreneur," what would you tell them? What advice would you give them?
Yeah, first I'd want to know like why? What impact do you want to make? If they can pause and they can have that clear vision of the impact that they want to make, then they're going to be able to tap into that and get the energy that it takes to be an entrepreneur.
Hmm.
There's going to be so many challenges. There's going to be so many times where you're kind of hitting your head in the wall or you lose 40% of your partners, your clients. And when those things happen, you need to know your why. And if they can figure that out, then I say do it. Take a chance on yourself. When you bet on yourself, you're going to be very proud when you're looking back. I know I am.
Hmm. Now, along the journey, were there any in the business world? Were there any kind of role models in the sense that you looked up to business leaders out there that you thought were pretty cool in what they were doing, and you learned from what they were doing?
I love people who take a chance on themselves and are curious. Um, and this is actually probably even to expand on one of your earlier questions, but my Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu instructor is the best in the world.
Hmm.
He's, a ninth degree black belt in Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu, which is unheard of. And he is known for introducing Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu to Canada. He's the first person to ever bring it to the country. And that's bold. He was in Brazil. He was running Carlson Gracie's school down there for quite a while. And he was the person to come to Canada not knowing English, build a business. He now has three locations and affiliate schools around the world. And he took a chance on himself and he's been able to build a life that provides for his family. And that is inspiring.
Hmm. Excellent. Well, thanks so much, Keenan, for joining us today.
It was a great time talking to you.
All right, super. That was Keenan Beavis, who was founder of Longhouse Branding and Marketing based in Vancouver. I'm Mario Toneguzzi, managing editor of Canada's Entrepreneur. Thanks for joining us today.